Hello everybody and welcome to your Aphrodite solo guide. So for the healers right now, the Aphrodite's hells of the world, they're not doing so great in the mid lane currently. But the good news for them is that healers are not doing horribly over in the solo lane. They're having a much better time over in the solo lane. So we're going to be grabbing our Vampiric Shroud. This is honestly a big reason why solo laners can do so well right now with mages. On an Aphrodite, we're not really going to keep this into the late stages of the game, but it is going to make our laning phase an absolute ridiculously annoying process for the enemy to deal with. And we're going to get ourselves a beads as well, and just of course a couple of health potions for that sustain in lane, since we'll have that blue buff. Now make sure you wait for those minions to spawn before you use your birds, otherwise you will take way too much damage from those little ghost minions. Their damage output is actually quite nice. So for the starting, we've got that Vampiric, and then we're also going to get ourselves into that tier 1 breastplate, so we can go into a early game breastplate of valor. They've got a Guan Yu solo, it seems. Looks like they're gonna have a Camazot in the jungle, so going that physical defense not only is going to help us against the solo laner, but it's also going to help us against the jungler as well for ganks, which is fantastic. Now Guan Yu has gone Fighter's Mask, which means he's got damage on damage on damage, but luckily we've got sustain on sustain on sustain, so we can actually fight right back into him and be able to grab ourselves that early kill. The Fighter's Mask is a really good start for a lot of solo laners right now, but the sustain from the Vampiric pretty much beats it across the board. That's a big reason why you're starting to see a transition in solo lane over to a lot of Guardians, because Guardians can still provide a lot of frontline, right? Like a Sobek and stuff, and RDO, but they can also take use of this newfound sustain, which can typically live through the burst damage that the Fighter's Mask and Blue Stones were bringing early.
Clear the area.
So on our Aphrodite, our birds, of course, is our main ability. It is the one we're going to be maxing out first. It's our main wave clear. It's our PvP damage. It's our heal for our team. It's pretty much the bread and butter of Aphrodite. At level 2, we grabbed our 2. This is our back off. Now, back off does have a little bit of an interaction with teammates. So remember, you can link a teammate in Aphrodite with your kiss. You can also use it on the enemy as a 1-second stun. But with a teammate that is linked, your back off around you is going to knock away the target, right? It's going to physically knock them back. But if it's on a friendly and you use back off is also going to go around them. It will not do double damage, so like if they're in the area of you and the person that you're linked to, you're not going to get like a giant double damage burst off of it. But while it knocks back around your character, it actually does not knock back around whoever you link it to. It is a slow instead, so it can be quite useful to help a teammate catch up to somebody, and it doesn't like screw them over and knock back a target away from them or anything. So now that I've got my kiss and I'm against a Guan Yu, my goal is going to be over here to simply kiss him out of his Tallow Assault every single time that he goes to use it. So the early game, you can see he was getting a little bit of pressure on me, just because Tallow Assault does do a lot of damage, especially with that Fighter's Mask early. But now that I've got my kiss, he's gonna hate the rest of this laning phase. Now I'm gonna back up, get myself that full breastplate of valor, as well as a couple of wards. I'm actually gonna wait for a second ward so I can get 2 wards out here in the solo lane.
Out of mana.
An enemy has been slain. America to the rescue.
So for my level order on Aphrodite, I like to get my 3 max out first. This is obviously your damage and your heal and your lane clear. Then I typically go 2-4-1. So I like to have the extra damage on the Aphrodite. I think the back off damage is really good. It's also nice over in the solo lane to have a little bit more burst damage against your opponent. Then I double back and I level up the ulti. The ulti leveling up is important on Aphrodite because it increases the invulnerability duration that does go up to 2 seconds. But I find that the difference between 0.8 and 1.1, you're still basically just using it for like a CC immunity kind of situation. So it's not that big of a deal, which is why I think you can manage to level up that back off first and then level up the kiss. Now the kiss also does have good implications in the late game for damage output, because remember, when you've got somebody linked on your teams, like right now I'm gonna wait for him to come down for the stun and then I'm gonna use my ulti right there. An extra 0.3 seconds isn't super relevant, which is why I like to level it up. Third. Good stun right there. Gonna grab us another kill. Good rotation from our Tsukiyomi. Your kiss also has this jealousy damage. So when you're linked to a friendly on your team, so say I was linked to my Suki, and then I go ahead and I kiss the Guan Yu, my ally gets jealous. And so Suki would actually get jealous and he would have a 20% damage increase when this is fully leveled. It's actually a very good ability. Not to mention, I'm also going to transition 70% of my MP5 basically to the target as well. So like the combination of Aphrodite having blue buff, kisses the target, now I'm basically giving blue buff to my target as well. That kind of stuff, you know. It's pretty nice. Aphrodite's one does a lot of stuff, and that lasts for 5 seconds, by the way, on that jealousy. Also, a reminder that Aphrodite's passive just makes her a little bit tankier. She gets those physical magical protections for the more people that are around her, which kind of makes her a natural solo laner. Reminder that every time this Guan Yu is going for that, I'm just gonna hit him with my ult. I'm actually not even gonna ulti it this time, or I'm gonna hit him with my kiss, excuse me. Don't even need to use it. I am winning these trades really hard because he can't actually clear with the Tallow Assault, and I've got all of the sustain in the world. So don't really have to worry about the Guan Yu. If the Camazotz comes at me, I might have to get a little bit worried. So what are our goals on an Aphrodite solo? So when you're playing a mage solo, you still need to be frontlining for your team. I think this is one thing that makes people the most upset when they get a mage solo on their team, is that you are missing a lot of frontline, right? Typically you're gonna have like that warrior from here plus the guardian and your support role, and you're gonna have a bunch of frontline. But if you get like a mage over in solo, oftentimes they'll be playing it farther back, almost as if they're a mid lane mage. That is not what you want to be doing on your Aphrodite. Or any mage you're playing solo, might be a Zhong Kui, whatever. You still want to be playing them like a frontliner. You want to be diving into the backline, forcing the enemy to use abilities, getting them to freak out, all of that typical solo lane stuff. So make sure you're also building appropriately to be able to actually do that. So you're looking for your HP and your protections, all that nonsense. Now, after my Breastplate of Valor here on the Aphrodite, I'm going to be going into a Warlock Sash. I actually think that the removal of boots has really done a lot of work in helping mage solos, because Warlock Sash has become a lot easier to get early. You can go Warlock Sash as your very first item, but I actually find Warlock Sash as a second item after you've grabbed your Breastplate of Valor to typically be the better option. And that's because if you're going against a physical solo laner and a physical jungler, those protections are going to provide a lot more value than the HP necessarily will that early in the game.
You're on fire!
So right now, they basically can't kill me at all. This Ymir is kind of stuck, so I'm just going to walk up and try to mostly body block him, hit him with a little stun, try to keep him from running into this tower. So we're going to hit him with a back off right there, kind of knock him away. He's a little bit slow, so his wall is going to stop himself. And we're gonna get a triple kill on a Tiamat, which, fun fact, is not something you want to have happen if the Tiamat is not on your team.
You're on fire.
Now I need to back, but I also need 100 more gold for my Warlock Sash, so I'm gonna try to clear this wave before I start to run away. Need to make sure that I am kissing the Guan Yu every single time he uses that Tallow Assault. He might try to ulti me and follow up with a little Camazotz action, but that's okay. I've got a little kiss there to get my Suki out of dodge, and now I need to run away. For our standard combo on Aphrodite, it is going to be usually starting off with our kiss. Our kiss is going to hit him with that stun, which is going to make them an easy setup target. So we can then follow up with our birds, which is that channel time. It does actually have to travel. So it's not doing the damage in the whole area when you cast it. The birds themselves physically have this little travel time. And so it has to wait until that hits them before it actually does the damage. So you do actually want them to be standing still. It's not the hardest ability in the world to dodge. And then you follow up with your back off for the damage. So that is 1, 3, 2 on the Aphrodite. Now against this Guan Yu, I've been saving the one and not using it offensively because I'm using it defensively. Way more efficient over here for me to simply wait to interrupt. The Tallow Assault works great as well for other things. Bellona's hammer when she's going for the sledge. When you've got a Cabrakan going for his tremors. Works well against all of them. Once again, I really don't think I need to ulti this. I don't think I'm going to take enough damage or be in any risk of dying, so I'm not even going to bother using my ulti right here.
Be careful.
Get out some nice deep wards into the jungle so I can see them if they are coming. In fact, they are going to be on their way here. That is fine. Going to get deep wards out in both directions. Give my Ganesh a little kiss. You can kiss through walls on Aphrodite, both to friendly and enemy targets. So the Merlin right there gets dashed on by Ganesh. I see that he is close to him, so I use my back off, which you could see does not actually knock back the target. It just slows them from the linked target. So if I need to get to a Suki through a wall or something, I can go to kiss him through the wall, although he just absolutely dodged out like crazy. Fine, no heals for you, Suki. Or if you need to kiss an enemy through a wall for the stun, you can do that as well. Your 3 will go through walls. Your ultimate will obviously go through a wall if you are linked to a target that is far away from you through a wall. And your back off only goes through walls if your linked target is.
This fight is not over yet.
So our goal on this Aphrodite build, we obviously want CDR. Cooldown is going to be important for pretty much all mage solos. Particularly healers if you're going to rock a Helen solo and Aphrodite. A lot of your damage is going to come from just a lot of base damage from spam, and then you factor that in with the extra healing that you're going to be getting, the extra sustain, and you become really hard to kill. So you're going to want to make sure you're getting near capped CDR. Just with the Breastplate of Valor in the enhanced blue buff, I'm actually at 40% CDR, so it's really not that hard to get there, especially if you're getting an enhanced blue. In fact, it's really easy. After that, I'm kind of looking for hybrid items, and those hybrid items are going to depend on what the enemy composition is. So right now they're rocking triple physical, double magical, and one of their magical damage dealers is Ymir, who is their support. That means that I'm going to be focusing mostly on physical defense this game. Magical defense is going to be way less important to me because the only person doing magical damage this game is really going to be the Merlin. So for my next item, I can actually go right into a tyrannical plate helm. This is an item that you're probably seeing a lot more often on the magic solo laners. And that's because it's actually a very good item nowadays. It's going to be giving you, if you go look at the stats, a lot of people I think don't even necessarily know the stats of this item. because it was just not picked up at all until recently. It's only 2,400 gold, so it's a little bit expensive, but it's not. Holy cow, it was just getting ganked like crazy. Sorry, boys. As my second relic here, we'll go over that in just a second. You do have a couple of options on Aphrodite. In the solo lane, you can go for something more aggressive like a Sunder or a Blink, but I typically find that just getting the selfish relics over here is usually best. If you can stay alive as Aphrodite, you can usually keep somebody on your team alive, which is going to be better most of the time. But do keep in mind your team might need an Ankh for anti-heal. You might need a Sunder, one of those kind of more team fighty actives. You might need a Heavenly Agility. They might have a lot of slows. But in this particular game, I just need to stay alive to keep my team alive. So I'm grabbing the Aegis and the beads for that. Now back to the Tyrannical Plate Helm. We're going to get 80 magical power out of this. Excuse me, 85 magical power, which is, first of all, a lot of magical power. Second of all, we're going to get 40 physical protections, 100 health, and 20% CCR. So good hybrid tanky all across the board, particularly against physical damage, which is why we're grabbing this item this game, because they've got a lot of physical damage. And then finally, your allied units, these minions, you can see this little buff on them. These are actually really strong minions. And so it's going to make tower pushing easier. It's going to make Phoenix sieging easier, all of that stuff. And you can see that even with the Pestilence, even with the Curse on, this Guan Yu has done absolutely no damage to me.
Clear the area.
There's just nothing that he can do about this. Between all my physical defenses, between all my CDR, he just kind of has to sit there and be like, huh, this sucks. Now, for guys that we don't like going against an Aphrodite, obviously the biggest concern is going to be those that have built-in anti-heal. Somebody you might encounter over in the solo lane is like a Sobek. He's going to have just as much sustain as you with his Vampiric, as well as his Siphoning Strike, and that is also going to be applying that anti-heal to you.
Gank.
So do be careful against gods that have built-in anti-heal. Another god that has become popular again is Odin. Seeing a lot of Odins pop up in the solo lane. Obviously, Odin is going to be very problematic for you on an Aphrodite. Traps you in the cage, 100% anti-heal. You just kind of got to sit there and be like, I sure hope I don't get rotated on. So do make sure that you're being careful with that. Now you can see that the Merlin is doing a whole lot of damage to us because we do not have our magical defense online yet. I am linked right now to my Izanami. She does not need the ulti, and so we're going to be able to get away with that one. I'll just kind of sit back here and continue to heal her up. Now, at this point, we are going to need some magical defenses. There's a lot of actually decent options right now in terms of magical defense items. One you're going to see pop up a lot is Talisman of Energy. A lot of magical defenses, a lot of HP. Also gives you that team-wide buff for attack speed and for movement speed. So it really ends up being kind of a supporty-like item, which can be nice on the Aphrodite. A lot of Pestilence you are going to see because there's a good amount of healing in Smite right now. Some of those healing gods are pretty popular. They've got a Guan Yu this game, so it might be a decent idea to look into that. I am going to get full dove right now underneath this Phoenix. I'm going to try to go ahead and pop a little Aegis here, try to stay alive a little bit longer, just kite him around. Maybe we'll be able to get a kill or two underneath this tower. Maybe my team will be able to get here if they have brought all 5 people over. If a team has a lot of magical defenses, or a lot of magical damage dealers, I like the Genjis. Against this team, I don't really like the Genjis because I'm basically relying on getting hit by the Merlin or something, so I don't love that. The Lotus Crown is really more of a physical defense item. So right now in the solo lane, I really lean into the Pestilence and the Talisman of Energy as probably my main two, with a notable mention to Wingblade. A lot of people don't realize that Wingblade has magical defenses on it. and it gives you that bonus movement speed. Against this team, actually, against the slows, it's not bad. I'm going to grab it. Right here, I probably should be grabbing the Talisman of Energy for the team. But I do want to make it a point that Wingblade gives magical defenses, which I just think a lot of people simply don't realize. On top of all the other stats that people usually know that Wingblade gives. And against the team, and they got Ymir slow, Camazotz slow, Guan Yu, they got all sorts of slows all over the place. So I can actually probably grab a Wingblade here and then get myself a Talisman of Energy right after that. Get that double magical defense. I'll have the double movement speed from all of that, and I'll be really hard to catch an Aphrodite, particularly when I'm linked to a target, because remember, when you're linked to a target, you also get that bonus movement speed. So we will be really hard for them to pin down and kill.
Enemy spotted.
At this point, we should be grouping up, and we should be looking around for objectives. Whether that just means shoving down a tower, whatever.
Blazing energy.
It is that stage of the game where you want to be invading their buffs, looking at pyromancers, forcing those fights. Over the objectives, 20 minutes is really the ultra late game. Now is my. So at the end stages of this game on Aphrodite, I'm looking to link to whoever my hyper carry is. Looks like this game is going to be Tiamat. She is level 19. Really big, so I want to keep that Tiamat alive. Obviously, I can switch my target to other people, but I want to be giving that bonus damage to Tiamat. Remember that jealousy damage? I want to be giving it to Tiamat because chances are he is doing the most damage right now. Really good Ganesh ult. Tiamat's going to go in hard. I'm just going to be running straight at them. Don't even have to use my ultimate here. And you can see that the Tiamat jumped right in there, which also gave me a great target to utilize my back off onto as well, because he has that range, but also the melee. Wasting a little bit of time right now over here on this Camazotz. What we should be doing is actually going for the Fire Giant, but sometimes when your team tastes blood, you've got to go get it for them. We shouldn't be bothering with this tier 2 at all. We've got Ymir dead. He'll be the only person alive. Make sure I keep this Tiamat in range. Head right on over the Fire Giant. For God pairings on your team with the Aphrodite, you're just looking for hyper carries. Traditionally, a melee range hyper carry is the best pairing with Aphrodite because of the back off then being in range. Obviously, if it's a range target and they're fighting range to range, you can't do the little back off combo. So traditionally, it's those hyper carry junglers that she actually pairs with the best. Kali, Mercury, etc. Those kind of gods are really, really hard to deal with an Aphrodite, because she's going to give them the extra sustain. She's going to give them all this movement. You can't CC them because of the ulti. They get 2 seconds to free hit you. A Kali, now she basically has an extra life on top of her extra life. So those melee hyper carries. Hunters work fine. There's nothing wrong with just having a nice hunter hyper carry on your team. But preferably it's going to be that assassin in the jungle.
Clear the area.
Now we need to shove up mid and left. I've got tons of protections. I've got tons of HP. I've got all the bonus movement speed in the world. I will be very hard to catch. So at this point, we're just looking to shove up, grab all these tier 2s. I'm going to stick next to my Tiamat as much as I can, just because he is my best target this game. And you can see that little Tiamat combo, he jumps in. I've got my kiss on him. I can get ready to back off. Easy way to get in the range of that damage. Now I'm going to call for the attack left lane here. We should be attacking that lane the farthest away from the Fire Giant. Now at the end of the game with the Aphrodite, you can level up that Vampiric Shroud if you would like to. You don't have to. Obviously, the enemy team is going to have a lot of anti-healing, so the lifesteal aspect from this is not going to be nearly as strong, but the item itself is simply good. So if you want to rank this up, you can, and you can take that into the upgrade on the left-hand side, which is that blood-soaked shroud. That blood-soaked shroud is going to give you more physical protections, and it's going to give you 2% HP and mana sustain per enemy hit per ability, which means that an ability like your back off or your birds, if it hits a full wave, is basically going to give you half of your HP back, which is why it's such a valuable item. Or you can sell it in the late game and simply get something with more CDR. Pridvin is always a good idea. You Pridvin for the ulti immunity. Now you've got a shield on you. Fantastic. Gives you another slow. Helps you stay alive. Or if you want to go a little bit more aggressive, you can get a more damage-oriented item, but I prefer to keep it a little bit tankier, so I don't mind playing in the front line, so I can kind of double down as that frontline warrior-esque gameplay, even though I'm a mage and solo, guys. And that is your Aphrodite solo guy. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.